week of July. Hey.
Will be 3 minutes. 10 minutes, sorry.
You've said that before. What's up, guys, and welcome to this week's Gentleman Marketing Minute.
Gentleman's Marketing Minute.
There you go. And today we are talking about, well, really the June 2019 market update and how we were right.
We're correct.
Not to say that we told you so, but
we are usually right.
We are usually correct, yeah. And this was no different. So right now we've come to the end of the stride of the first week of July. Hey.
Will be 3 minutes. 10 minutes, sorry.
You've said that before. We've come to the end of the first week of July, and typically this is when the Greater Vancouver Real Estate Board releases all of the statistics.
Which is, of course, where we get our information from. Always board statistics. Just to be clear, we're not pulling these out of the sky.
We're not just making up numbers as we go. No, so we get all of these statistics from the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver, typically at the end of the first week of the following month, for the previous month at hand. And this month has kind of been no different. There's going to be a few titles which are going to come out, which are probably going to be hot on the list. You've heard them all before. Lowest since the year 2000. Inventory is consistently on the rise, so on and so forth. Am I wrong?
You're correct, but what is the one thing that the people may not realize that they're getting that information fed through?
So it's always based on Metro Vancouver. Yeah.
All of it.
Thanks for that. All of it. And so Metro Vancouver encompasses anywhere from West Van, North Van, all the way down to Langley and everything in between. So it's a huge scape, and so it's really not area specific in any way at all. So if you have a 2-bedroom condo in Yaletown, you likely don't care what's happening with the 2-bedroom condo in White Rock.
Exactly, and to be clear, everything we ever speak about, market trends, statistics, and everything focuses exactly on our market, which is downtown Vancouver, east side and west side, the focal point of what we talk about. Of course, in Works, we spread out from that, but all the statistics we discuss, unless otherwise stated, are the core Vancouver market.
So some of the headlines that you'll probably be hearing on the news, which is also Metro Vancouver focused, are going to be housing supply continues to increase, lowest sales since June 2000. And however that may be the case for Metro Vancouver, that's not necessarily area specific. And so on to Jay's point, when we talk about our specific area, downtown, east side and west side, it's actually a very, very different story. We've actually seen the opposite happen in terms of supply. I mean, supply has dropped quite a lot. I want to give some of the numbers.
Yeah, so like Ben said, if you own a condo, for example, in downtown Vancouver, I mean, you can follow the market, obviously, as much as you want and keep an eye on what Metro Vancouver is doing. But again, the likelihood of anything to do outside of Vancouver when it comes to real estate is not going to affect your pricing whatsoever, or necessarily the climate of the market you are in here in downtown Vancouver. So to give you some insight on exactly that, the decline of listings that we have seen last month, the largest is East Vancouver condos, which we've seen a listing decline 25.92%. So the listing inventory month over month has declined 25.92 for East Van condos, which is a quarter and huge.
Yeah, so if you're in the market in East Vancouver right now looking for a condo, your chances of finding the right one, we'll say, has decreased by pretty much 26%. Yeah. And although not to as high as an extent, but I think that's across the board, right? East side condos detached.
Everything has dropped.
West side condos, west side detached, everything has dropped anywhere from minus 13.66% for east side houses all the way up to the 26% we just read out for east side condos.
Yep, and the same on the west side. West side condos specifically just under 15%, 14.4% decline in west side condo inventory. And West Side houses?
West Side houses saw a decline of 19% of supply. So now that's not to say that we're not saying if you're a buyer you need to absolutely go out now, otherwise all hell's going to break loose if you don't buy now. We're just bringing the fact that there has been a significant drop of supply, and that's not what the mainstream and large scale Metro Vancouver statistics will show. It will actually show an increase, but again, once we get area specific, that changes. So
in all fairness, they're not focusing on the market that we're focusing on. They're focusing on the blanket bigger picture.
Yeah, so they're not wrong, first and foremost. They're definitely not wrong because they're looking at a whole variety, but without it being area specific, it's hard to know whether that really applies to yourself or not. So overall, in our market, we have seen sales and listings decrease. If you were watching our May 2019 update and our April 2019 update, you would have said that we called this. May typically sees a surge every year in sales, which gives the false belief that we're on a rising market, and then we come crashing back down to reality in June, and the same thing happened this year regardless of market conditions.
Which we're seeing commonly, as we've also mentioned before. It's still a buyer's market, of course, and the market is still buoyant at best with light softening on the downside, meaning 1 month we may have slightly up, and like we've just described, the next month slightly down. So it's, again, we're not saying it's a seller's market. We're not saying there's extreme pressure for you to buy today, but just be aware that in this segment of the market, at least, the inventory numbers are coming down, or at least have this month. And I didn't expect to see 25%. That's pretty high, I think.
Yeah, that's quite significant, and it's not something I think a lot of people expected, but it paints a very different picture of what you see on the news versus the reality.
For sure.
So there is still definitely a divide and a gap that needs bridging between seller expectations and buyers' expectations when it comes to pricing. But in a correctional market, that's always the case. And so there will still need to be some work done there. There's still a lot of listings out there right now that are sat on the market, and they're sat on the market because they're overpriced, and nothing's going to change that other than the reality kicking in. But overall, that is it for this week. Thank you for joining us. That one was a bit shorter and sweeter. Thank you for coming to the Gentleman's Marketing Minute.
Thank you for your attention as usual, and we look forward to your comments below on what we just discussed, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.